What's up, wheel repair guys? Today we're going to teach you how to turn literally any wheel into a gloss black perfect finish. You can make at least $500 off of this service, so follow along, check it out. We're going to show you how to mess up and fix them. You know, honestly guys, we did some pretty good damage to this wheel by grinding it around outside on the floor, but it's really no problem. We can fix this easy, quick, efficiently, cheap, and you can make money while doing it. There's a few things that you guys are gonna need. First and foremost is proper protection. So you're gonna need some eye protection, and you're gonna want a dust mask. You're gonna want a real respirator. That looks like, this here is a charcoal respirator. It's for when we're spraying our paint and clear coats. You really don't wanna be breathing that in. So all three of these are gonna be your proper PPE. Next up, guys, you're gonna need a couple tools to do this repair. You're gonna start with a roll-lock disc sander. Check the link below. You'll be able to find that in our Amazon store. You're also gonna need this mini gun. You can also find that in our Amazon store. Lastly, you're gonna need a random orbit sander. This is a 3-inch dual action. You can find that also in our link. It's a random orbit, so you can't actually see the scratch of what you're sanding with. So first, we're gonna start with our brown roll lock. We're usually gonna be in between brown, red, and blue. Brown is the most aggressive, red is in between, and blue is the finest grit that we're gonna have. On this case, we're gonna start with our brown. We do have quite a bit of work to do. Brown strips the fastest and removes the most material, so you can get the most done in the shortest amount of time. Alright guys, so after we get all that major damage out with the brown roll lock disc, which is the more aggressive, we're going to skip the red and we're going to jump to the blue, and we're just going to refine the brown roll lock disc's scratch pattern and fine it down to this one, and then we'll move to sandpaper. Now that we have gotten rid of the majority of our major damage, what we're gonna need to do is come back with our blue roll lock disc, and we're gonna polish out all of these deep scratches that our very aggressive brown roll lock disc put into the wheel. So now, like I said, we're gonna polish this out. After we polish it, we're gonna move on to some sandpaper, and we're gonna get it up to a certain grit that black paint will comfortably cover. After we finish up polishing with the blue roll-lock disc, we're gonna hit it with the 320 grit on the dual action 3-inch blue sandpaper. You can also find that in our Amazon store. So what we're doing here, guys, is we're feather edging the part of the paint that is from one layer to the second layer to the bare aluminum. So I'm trying to make it as long and as smooth as possible, and that's what the 320 allows us to do. As you can see here, I'm going around the whole wheel and I'm feathering out that black line so that you can't feel it anymore. If you can feel it, you have to continue to sand until it's farther and farther out. Spread it out kind of like sand going down into the ocean. You want it really long and deep like that. Now that I've feathered back the damaged paint and caught up the blue polishing to 320 grit sandpaper, I'm gonna go ahead and scuff and sand the rest of the wheel and all the pockets so that my paint has something to really bite into and grab onto so it can last as long as possible for your customer. As you can see, I noticed that I found a chip right there, so I just kept sanding with a 320 grit. We're moving on to the red Scotch-Brite. This is equivalent of 320 to 360 grit sandpaper. Really cool material, scuffed super nice. This is 3M. You really have to put your elbow grease into this though, because we don't want any shine to be found in these wheels after we clean them up. Wash them down and get them ready for paint. But we really can't see any shine because paint doesn't stick to shiny paint. It just doesn't. Next, we're always going to follow through by blowing the wheel off so we can get as much dust out of here before we actually wet it down and get it clean. Also, that will reveal all of your super shiny spots that you missed. Guys, always remember to mask up your sensor here, your valve stem. Looks real ghetto when you paint it the same color as the wheel. Next, guys, we got our wax and grease remover. You know where to find it. We got our microfibers. We're gonna saturate the rag. I'm gonna saturate the wheel a little bit. And we're gonna wipe her all down. This is gonna remove all of the waxes and greases. You should be wearing gloves right now. I'm not. Apologize. Get every nook and cranny that you can in this, guys. We cannot miss any part. This has to be an entirely perfectly clean, dust-free wheel. Always hit the edges. Since we have the raw aluminum right here, we're gonna start with our self-etching primer. This is perfect for aluminum. Aluminum is a great product. but you have to use the right product to stick to it. So for these edge coats, I'm doing very, very light dust coats. The worst thing that you can do in painting is go too heavy, too quick. So I'm doing it in small, light dust coats. You can do it in 2 or 3, and that's going to be the fastest way, because then if you find an imperfection, you can go back and sand it with some 320 grit. So what we just did there was we etched the wheel with a self-etching primer. You have to do this because it's bare aluminum. And now that we got the bond of chemical reaction between the metal and the etch, we can follow it with some base coat. And this, in this case, is this black base coat. We're gonna go right over the top of this. What I love about the etch is it almost gets you there already, right? But we're gonna follow it through with the actual black base coat and then the clear coat. Your base coat is going to be sprayed as a reduced material depending on where you get your base coat from, your local automotive paint supply store. Make sure that you ask for it to be pre-reduced. That means it's ready to spray. So you can just take it from them, put it into a gun, and you can shoot it just like this. Right now we're shooting at 20 PSI, 6 to 8 inches away from the panel in light medium dust coats. All we're trying to do here, guys, is achieve color coverage. Again, we're not trying to make this soaking wet. It's not meant to be glossy quite yet. Just light medium dust coats. Alright guys, now we're going to make some clear coat. The clear coat we use is from a company called Wanda. Wanda's a great company. We use their base coat. You can get it at Napa. Their clear for the speed clear coat is mixed 3 to 1. So it's going to be 3 parts clear coat to 1 part hardener. All speed clears are going to be different based on what you use. Always make sure that you mix up your clear, guys. Nothing worse than shooting clear that's not reduced or hardened. This clear coat comes pre-reduced, so all it needs is the hardener. Mix it up real good. Toss your cap on. Always make sure that your cap is locked down and secured. You're ready to clear coat. As you guys can see here, we have mixing ratios on these toss away cups. 3 parts to 1 part to 1 part is what it's saying. If you wanted to make more, this would also be 3 parts, 1 part to 1 part. So as long as you stay 1, 1 to 1, and 2, 2 to 2 in that column is what we're looking for. I like to shoot with my fan a little bit closed down. There's a few measurements that we need to figure out how to adjust on your paint gun. Your fan is going to be your top one here. All the way backed out is going to give you the biggest fan. All the way in, it's going to give you a jet. You don't really want to be too much towards the jet, and you don't want to be too much. We're kind of Goldilocks here, right? We want the middle one. So I find about 1 full turn out on that. Gives you a nice little fan pattern, what we're looking for. I always do full fluid because I decide how much fluid comes out, not the paint gun. And then my air, you don't want it too high, you don't want it too low, you want it just in the middle. You start hearing this little whistling sound, that's perfect. The pattern on how we paint is almost the most important part of the whole process, other than how good of quality material you're using. When painting a wheel, I'm gonna choose 1 spoke and I go on that spoke all the way around, right? As you can see what I'm touching. And then I come back to this starting point and I'm gonna choose the next spoke opposite of the first one and go all the way around. Back to my starting point, I'm gonna hit each one of these outer pockets here. Bum, 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 bum. Back to my starting point. I always like to hit this little pocket if there is one. Sometimes there's really not and it's not necessary. And then I follow through all of that with coming across and painting the whole face. Remember how important these sides are though, because when a wheel is standing straight up and a customer is looking straight down, that's what they're gonna see, not so much the face. It's important to try and make it all encapsulated into one piece, just like you dip it in water and pull it out. I'm gonna show you my process. Pay attention. I know it's a lot and I'm gonna be going quickly. We'll slow it down for you a little bit, but this is gonna be real time. When clear coating a wheel, guys, we always do 2 coats. So we're gonna let this sit for a second, continue to evaporate out, then we're gonna come back with our second coat of clear. Alright guys, we got the finished result here and man does it look good. Literally, like I said, like we dipped it in water and pulled it out. That's what happens when you use really good quality material and you're using quality equipment. Quality equipment is gonna be a compressor, an air dryer, and your paint gun, of course. Our air drying system, you can do it as simply as one of these on the end of your paint gun. This stops moisture before it actually gets through the body of the gun and comes out and atomizes. So this is a really good prevention. We use it on literally every wheel. In the case that you guys have a tire on this, all you would be doing is masking the tire off. You can do that with masking tape. You can do that with playing cards. You can pop the bead. We use cardboard here at my shop. Tons of options for you there. But if you did do that, all you would have to do is unmask the tire and you're ready to go. Put it back on the car and you'll have a happy customer. They'll call you back for the next time that they scratch their wheel.